All right, let's talk about something huge happening in India. A massive tax overhaul. They're calling it GST 2.0. And trust me, this is a big deal. It's set to change everything, from what you pay for groceries to the future of the entire economy. So let's get right into it and break down what's changing and why it really matters to all of us.
So, just think about this for a second. What if a country's biggest, most complicated tax system just got simpler? I mean, really simple. Taking this, notoriously complex web of taxes that affects over 1 billion people and just streamlining it. Well, that's not some thought experiment. It's exactly what's happening in India right now.
Okay, so let's get into the details. The government has officially pulled the trigger on what they're calling GST 2.0. This isn't just a small tweak, it's a fundamental shakeup of the country's biggest indirect tax. And believe me, this thing is a huge deal, and it's all happening incredibly fast.
And when I say fast, I am not kidding. The whole thing was announced on September 5th, and guess what? Businesses have just 17 days to get ready before the new rules go live on September 22nd. Now, this timing is no accident. It's deliberately set right before India's huge festive season, the idea being to really maximize the impact on consumer spending. But you gotta wonder, can businesses really adapt that quickly? That's a big question.
But, before we can really appreciate the why behind this new system, we've got to look at the what was wrong with the old one. So why was such a massive change even needed? Let's try and untangle that old system for a second.
You see, the original GST, while it was a big step forward at the time, well, it was a total maze. You had all these different tax slabs, 0, 5, 12, 18, 28%, and on top of that, a whole bunch of special rates for certain items. For businesses, this created a massive headache, a huge compliance burden. And for regular people, it was just plain confusing. Something had to give.
And that brings us right to the new rules. GST 2.0 is all about one thing, moving from that crazy complexity to some real, honest-to-goodness clarity.
Now, before we get to all the simplifying, let's talk about the biggest new number on the block. A brand new 40% tax slab. Yep, 40%. This is what they're calling the new demerit rate, and it's aimed squarely at luxury items and what are called sing goods. Think tobacco and the like.
Okay, so here's the entire change in a nutshell. Look at this. The old maze of 5 main rates, plus all those special ones, it's being collapsed into just 3 core tax brackets. 5%, 18%, and that new 40% rate we just talked about. The 12% and 28% slabs, gone. Poof, completely eliminated. This right here is the heart of the Great Simplification.
And this next part, this is arguably the biggest deal for the average person's wallet. Nearly everything, 99% of items that used to be taxed at 12%, well, they're now moving down into the 5% bracket. We're talking about a direct tax cut on so many everyday items.
Right. So with any huge policy shift like this, there are always going to be, winners and losers. It's just how it works. So let's dig into what this reform really means for your wallet and for the different parts of the economy.
So, what does your shopping list look like now? Well, on one hand, your everyday stuff, essential food, clothes, household goods, that's all set to get cheaper as it drops into that 5% slab. But on the other hand, the high-end stuff, things like luxury cars, fancy electronics, tobacco, and high-end jewelry, they're about to get a lot more expensive under that new 40% rate.
Okay, let's zoom out and look at the whole economy. You can see a pretty clear pattern emerging here. The big winners? Well, they're the sectors that make all that everyday stuff we just talked about. Think fast-moving consumer goods or FMCG, plus healthcare and agriculture. They're all going to see a nice boost from lower taxes. Retail and construction, they get a bit of a benefit too. And then, at the other end of the spectrum, the challenge sectors are, no surprise, luxury and sin goods. They're the ones facing that much, much higher tax rate.
And hey, this isn't just about consumers. Businesses are set to get some major wins here, especially the small and medium-sized ones. For them, compliance gets way simpler with fewer rates to juggle. This also frees up working capital, which is huge. And for exporters, this is a game changer. There's a new, super fast 7-day window to get their tax refunds. But, and this is a big but, all these benefits really depend on businesses being able to get through that super tight 17-day transition period.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, what's the end game? What's the ultimate goal? Well, at its core, GST 2.0 is one massive bet on the power of simplicity.
The government strategy is really a classic economic chain reaction. Step 1, simplify the whole tax code. The theory is, This will make more people and businesses comply, and it'll leave consumers with more money to spend. That new demand then fuels business growth, and all of that together is supposed to stimulate the entire economy. It's a domino effect, really.
And this quote from the people behind the reform really sums up their optimistic vision. They see this virtuous cycle where lower prices on essential goods lead to more spending, which in turn helps small businesses grow and ultimately creates a stronger, healthier economy for everyone.
But of course, the big question remains. The goal is growth. The goal is simplicity. But will this massive gamble on simplification actually deliver on its promises? Or will that tight deadline and those higher luxury taxes create new problems that nobody saw coming? That is going to be the story to watch as GST 2.0 rolls out across India. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all unfolds.